Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Ali Fazal from Hibob. I lead our field marketing teams, and I'm so excited to welcome you today to our webinar on creating a secure and productive work from home experience, co-sponsored with One Login. It's so exciting to be able to chat with you today because I know so many HR team members like yourself are working overtime to create an engaging and secure work from home experience. Particularly in light of all teams currently being distributed globally and having a lot of uncertainty in play. So many people from our customer community, from the Hibob community in general, have reached out to ask us, what resources and tools do new hires need when they start working from home? How can you create an engaging work from home culture for new employees? And then there's also been a lot of talk about how to create a secure experience, both in terms of onboarding and offboarding. And so we're really excited to chat with you a little bit about that today. So a couple of things to cover. Today's session will be sort of a two-parter. So for the first part of this session, I have a really exciting interview for you guys with one of Hibob's clients called Logs.io. I'll tell you a little bit about them in a second, but that's the first part of today's session. The second part, I'll be introducing two other very special guests who will be able to walk you through technically a little bit about how you can use both Hibob and One Login to create an engaging and secure work from home experience. So in the meanwhile, as we're waiting for people to get in, I would also urge you, if you have questions for anybody today, whether it's myself, whether it's our guests from Logs, whether it's our presenters later on from One Login, and our technical expert from Hibob as well, feel free to ask them in the chat, and we will be sure to get to them. But without further ado, I would love to introduce my guest today. You can see him on screen as well. His name is Boaz, and he's from a company called Logs. So for most people, Logs doesn't really need much introduction, but for those who are unaware, they're a cloud observability platform for modern engineering teams. So my guest today is Boaz. A little bit of insight about Logs and why we thought their insight would be so valuable today. First, they've grown 38% in the last year, since May of last year when they got their Series D funding. They've grown 100% in headcount over the last 2 years, and they use Hibob and One Login together to create a really great experience for their employees working from home. So we're going to chat a little bit to Boaz today about work from home life for employees at Logs and some of the special sauce that makes that experience really great for all of their employees. But thank you, Boaz, for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm all excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So before we dive in, give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself, a little bit of an introduction to Logs.
All right, awesome. So about myself, I'm an Israeli American, born and raised in Israel, but lived in Boston area for the last 10 years with my family. Up until just celebrated 3 years at Logs.io last week, and up until recently, I headed the customer success organization. Now I'm leading the operations team, including purchasing, IT, site management, and support for our customers. As for Logs.io, it's a 5.5 years old company, raised so far a little over $100 million, and serving hundreds and hundreds of customers worldwide with about 240 employees. We were supposed to get over 300 employees by the end of the year. Obviously, with the COVID-19 crisis, we have put on hold most of our hiring, not all of them. We still hire for the critical jobs, but yeah, headquartered in Tel Aviv, with a big office in Boston and offices in London and Kiev, Ukraine as well.
Wow, all right. So much to dive into then. Like many of the people probably listening, a company that's been funded, a company that's still trying to grow and prosper amidst the current circumstances. And it seems like you're wearing a lot of hats over there. So I'm excited to dive into, everything that's going on. With that in mind, I want to remind everyone, if you have questions for Boaz, please feel free to ask them in the chat box, and I'll be sure to direct them to him. And then if you have questions for any of our panelists later on today, feel free to put those in as well. So just to kick things off, like 2 months ago now, we were put in a strange situation as a global community where everybody had to start working from home, and the vast majority of people globally are still in that circumstance. So tell me, what does work from home life look like for Logs employees, and how do you stay connected?
So yeah, that was a big, like for everyone else, that was a big shock for us all, especially I would say for an Israeli-based company, very warm, very united. Winning as a team is one of our core values for the company, and we are pretty much into working as a team, working in person together. And this culture, the value that impacts the culture of the company goes a long way in the US, in London, in Ukraine, and we all love working together, love being at the office. The offices are very welcoming and very treating. It's a dog-friendly environment. It's a family-friendly environment. We treat our employees with goodies, breakfasts, food. It's fun being at the office. And here comes the time when we have to split quite quickly. I have to say, though it was quite a shock, we got our act together quite quickly, and I can say that the people, the employees, felt responsibility to make it happen from work, because it has been very strictly enforced that we work from the office. We do not work remotely beforehand. And people wanted to show management and themselves that yes, we can do it. So they are trying way harder to show everyone, to over deliver, to be more productive, to put all the things that really disturbs you, little kids, other significant others that are working from the same workplace, they try to put it aside and be super efficient. And so far it works. It's not easy, but it works.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of good points. You know, so many companies that are well known for having great in-office culture traditionally don't have a large portion of their team working from home, or don't have a significant work from home culture. And so I think for those companies, the adjustment has been, you know, especially intriguing in how they've handled it. You know, you mentioned you're still hiring. I'm sure you had people who signed offer letters right before this pandemic took form. I'd love to hear a little bit about, for a company that is so united and so used to winning together as a team, in person, face to face, having some of those goodies you mentioned, food, breakfast, whatever. How has your onboarding and offboarding process changed in the recent couple of months?
So yeah, luckily enough, we haven't gone through any layoffs, not compensation cuts, nothing so far. Fingers crossed. We are hopefully we see the end of the crisis coming up in Tel Aviv, in Israel. It's really almost back to normal. Thank God. In Boston, it takes a little longer, but hopefully in a month we'll start getting back to the office. Onboarding has been much more challenging, of course. Replacing the in-person one-on-one hugging, sometimes even literally, hugging, but yeah, helping, hand-holding a new employee to get. And for us, it's mainly around three areas. It's first and foremost the personal aspect of being of feeling related to something and feel comfortable of where you are. The second is technical, like, okay, what do I use? A laptop, a VPN access, software, other systems, etc. And then it's a professional aspect of how do I do my job? Okay, I know to do this, but how do I apply it to the team theme, and how and when I contribute, what do I say when I had to shut up, okay, etc. So onboarding is mainly around those three topics: the personal, the technical, and the professional. And as I said earlier, I feel that the team and the managers kind of step up the game to actually double down on that, to make sure that everyone feels comfortable, they have the tools. Using Hibob help us a lot. Okay, we're using a lot of features and functionalities there that I can elaborate in a second if you want. But at a high level, I can say that this crisis made us, in my opinion, drill down to our basics of everything in life, starting from life and family, but ending with managing and organizational skills. We look deeper at what we promise, when are we available, what do we deliver, how we do that, how we communicate, how we manage, how we flag issues, etc. And I can say that using Hibob and OneLogin helped us combine that, make things easier, faster, secure. And that's it. If I can elaborate, but I don't want to have a long pitch.
No, of course, and I think we'll dive into each of those sections. The personal, the technical, the professional. I think for so many of us as an HR community, this phrase, structured onboarding has become such a buzzword, right? To the point where people don't even understand what it means. But I think that this crisis has really illuminated for a lot of people how much of their onboarding is not structured, right? How much, even for ourselves at Bob, where we're a company that has a product that focuses on creating a great onboarding experience. You forget how much of your onboarding experience just happens through osmosis, right? People kind of like pick up what's happening non-verbally. They learn about how different teams interact. They pick up on the culture, the vibe of the company. They kind of get a sense for the pace which they should work at. They get a sense of who the right people are to talk to about different things. And all that happens without you having to really formally lay it out. And now in a situation where you've gone from having 3 global offices to over 250, right, people in their individual homes,
Yep.
that structured element of onboarding is all the more important. So, with that in mind, I'd love to hear, for a lot of the people listening, I think they want sort of the takeaways that they, after this call, can go and implement, on their site. So if I could ask you, what are your 3 biggest hacks for creating a secure but also culturally positive onboarding experience?
All right. Sure. So yeah, when I said back to basics, we're spending a lot of time and efforts to create scalable systems and tools to help us grow fast. Okay. And when in person at the office, you can get away with that by just go around the necessities, but just introducing in person. Yeah, can you do me a favor and just log this guy or this woman here to this system, and you just get it. So that's for me getting back to basics. In the way we do that, it starts even before the employee even starts working. We do have a task list for the hiring manager involved that we're using, and you just get it ahead of time, assigning the IT equipment that's needed, the software that are needed to be used, and the email address, the buddy that you have to adjust to align with the new employee. So it starts way before the employee even starts working. Moving into the start day where everything is lined up ahead. All the software that the employee needs to use are already set up in the system, and just once you turn on the plug, everything boom 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 comes to life. Everything is ready for the employee to use. Sometimes we've seen employees so eager that we operate that and open that for them even before start date, just to get them going. And then moving on to the actual onboarding with close checkups, sometimes twice a day. So it should be at least one from your buddy, the other one from your direct manager. We do stand-up meetings with the teams every day, at least once a day. There are teams that are meeting twice, the beginning and the end. Typically, one of them would be more of a, hey, let's have coffee together in the morning. And it's super casual, just sitting on your sofa, really chill environment. But and then professional meetings when, if you're a long timer in the company, it goes without saying, when you are participating meetings for the first time, you don't know who's who in the zoo. How should I behave? Should I be quiet and just slack in messages and questions, or should I jump in? To what extent they really expect me to ask questions if they say if there are questions, etc. So I would say these are the three main areas: the pre-start date, the actual onboarding, and the ongoing meeting participations and contribution.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really interesting point about how even within teams, there are so many different cultures, right? Some teams operate, run meetings in the sense where there's one person presenting and everybody else sort of saves questions till the end. Some teams, really like to have it be an engaging sort of discourse where people pop in their opinions and questions live. And learning how to operate within all of these different microcultures can be even challenging for someone in the office. So when you're thinking of people outside the office, I'd love to hear a little bit about how you help new employees, whether they're people who joined after this pandemic or even people who are relatively new with the organization in general. How you help them develop a connection with the team and stay connected in this current crisis when everybody's working from home.
All right, that's a great question, and it's great mainly because I have a good answer, I think. And I think using the systems today more than in the normal days prior to COVID-19 crisis helps us a lot. If it's using it looks so basic for us, though it's advanced, the organizational chart in Bob, that you can see who's reporting to who, where they are at. You can filter where they are based. So many their personal contacts and fun facts about them. We're using that, and it really connects between people, because before you jump on a meeting, you just take a sneak peek into Bob, and you see that, oh, actually this guy has 4 cats and 2 dogs, two stray dogs, and so am I. And here you have something in common that you can just warm up the discussion before you jump into business. So that would be the organizational chart, the facts and the contact. We use a lot surveys in Bob. I think more than ever, we ask our employees what they're thinking and what they'd like to have. It goes from sometimes strategic topics to the most day-to-day, like what day and time you'd like to have our yoga session that moves from in person at the office to be online. And is it an hour or half an hour? So we're using that as a tool to let everyone voice their thoughts and their wishes, and they don't have to be vocal and so presence in person. So
yeah,
that's a big thing.
Cool. I think there's 2 things you touched on that I really want to highlight. So the first is the importance of understanding a little bit more about people that's like outside the lines, right? Outside just their job description and what team they're on. I know that our CEO Ronnie uses Bob for this, but even if you're not using a system like Bob, just understanding a little bit about like who the person is that you're talking to, like what team are they on, how long have they been there, if you're in a position of seniority and you're talking to someone junior, maybe having a look and seeing like what role has changed for them. I know Ronnie, our CEO, whenever he's meeting with new employees who hasn't met before, he takes a look to see, right, what their interests are, what what they've filled in terms of their background, what they're interested in. Also looking at what clubs and tribes they're part of internally. Is this person part of the book club? Are they part of the a different professional society internally? So I think sort of that personal information about people can really help remove some of the sterile clinical element of having all of these Zoom conversations, right? Where it feels like just robots talking to each other. And then the second amazing thing you pointed out, Boaz, was getting feedback from your employees, right? Like obviously you guys use Hibob to do this, we do as well. But whether you're using Hibob or not, like figuring out a way to get some sort of feedback from your employees on how they want to learn, how they want to conduct meetings, I think that's something that we can't do enough in this time period. So thank you for touching upon both of those.
And I'll just add on top of that shout outs are the big thing. And we've seen way many shout outs today rather than before, just because people feel that, yeah, they want to shout out one another. They want to express their gratitude to one another. And it's awesome because now we have a tool. Yes, we are using Slack, and you can post something on general Slack but since we have it integrated, you see it both in Bob and in Slack, and you get it all over.
Yeah, we've seen, that's a really good point. We've seen like a huge increase in sort of the usage of shout outs and kudos within our platform globally from all of our customers since it started. You know, again, whether or not you're using Bob, this idea of expressing gratitude towards your employees, shouting people out, introducing new people digitally is so important. Again, you know, all of us forget, even us working at an HR tech company, forget sometimes how much happens just without thinking about it at the office. Someone does a great job, you walk behind them and pat them on the back. You know, someone delivers an amazing presentation, everybody can clap for them and they can feel the gratitude in the room and look around, and that cultural value is really hard to replicate digitally. So sometimes you have to take extra steps, like going the extra mile and shouting someone out in Slack or Microsoft Teams. If you have a system like Bob, using that to offer kudos and shout outs to someone is really important, and definitely doesn't go unnoticed culturally.
Cool.
I want to ask you a question, Boaz, about how you ensure that all of your new employees, even existing employees, have access to all the different softwares and tools they need, right? Especially since I know you guys have a large engineering team. You know, engineers today, and employees in all departments really are using at least 5 to 6 key critical softwares to get the job done. How do you make sure that your employees have everything that they need?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And yeah, our engineering team is more than 85 people now. It's about 1/3 of the company. They are using way more than five, yes, way more than five software. Today, we're dealing with overall in the company at hundreds of different software vendors. It might be as little as 2 people are using that on a marketing for marketing use, and sometimes even ad hoc. But it's getting more and more hairy as we grow and as we span geographically and to new areas. That's one of the reasons why we've established recently our operations to take care of IT as well. And absolutely using one login helps us a lot to organize everything in one place. If it's from an onboarding perspective, to make sure that the employee gets that on day one, on the spot when they just start. We just turn it on for them. They don't have to go and log into different places using different login credentials, etc. They just have it in one place. In the unfortunate case of offboarding as well, it makes it much more easier and secure for us just to shut down the email, and that's it. We don't have to worry, at least from a security perspective. There's still the aspect of getting them off systems from a commercial aspect if they are holding a seat, but that helps as well. We are using another system called Tori to manage software, both for commercial and for practical usage. We've implemented Help, HALP. It's a Slack integrated help desk for employees. So if anything goes wrong, anything needs to be flagged quickly, they just open a help ticket through Slack, and the operations team take care of that. We bought technology. We're trying to cut costs, but we invested more on pro Zoom licenses to make it accessible to everyone who needs to work from home and have more than 40 minutes, the free version of Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. But yeah, other than that, a lot of attention to how easy it is for them to get access, to get off access when needed, not to disturb anyone, and keep it straight and efficient.
Perfect. Yeah, and look, I think so many of us have had to deal with this issue of offboarding, and I think definitely, you know, with all of the things to handle when you're offboarding an employee, it's never easy. It's certainly a tough situation to either furlough or lay off or terminate employees, particularly in a situation like this where maybe it's led more by economic need than by performance or something like that. So the last thing anybody wants to worry about, either as a hiring manager or as HR, is taking care of the system access thing. So I think I'll be really intrigued to hear what Braz and Brandon have to say on how one login and bots integration can help with this. But I thank you for bringing it up. Last question for you, and I think we've covered most of the questions that came in either through the chat or that people submitted beforehand. But last question for you today, Boaz. So, a company like Logs is one that, from everything you said and that just from what we all know, it's really culture positive, has a really family type of feel. I think a lot of people on the call as well are either HR leaders or operations leaders who are looking to cultivate that really positive culture in this current climate. If you had to give one final takeaway or message to people who are looking to develop a great culture working from home, what would that be?
It would be back to basics. It sounds like a big phrase. No, it's back to basics. Listen to people. Be empathetic. Everyone is fighting a fight you're not necessarily aware of for so many reasons. I'm not saying start being soft. You can stay firm, but fair and attentive. For me, it's basics, and we've seen so many cases of which managers, both young and long tenured managers, are getting a tool and being asked to check up with the team using the tool to say, oh yeah, that's good to check up with the team. Say, what? That's basics. So that would be my recommendation. Tools are important. They're very helpful, but really take this opportunity to ground a little bit and to go back to what really makes us people connected, engaged to one goal, and that would keep us all healthier, happier, and much more productive.
Well, yeah, that's excellent advice to leave us with, Boaz. I appreciate you so much taking the time out to share your insights with us. We're so happy to have Logs as part of the Hibob community, as part of the One Login community, and so glad that the integration has worked well for you guys. But so glad that you guys have put such a big focus on culture. It's something that a lot of companies don't have the time to do, and the fact that you guys are devoting so much time and effort to it means a lot. So thank you so much. For the audience, if you have additional questions for Boaz, feel free to submit them, and I'll try and get them towards the end of today's session. But with that, I will take this opportunity to transition over to our other panelists. I have a couple of other people on the line here as well. While I make this change, I want to share a couple of different things. So first, we have two handouts available for our audience today. So one is on managing a remote workforce. The other is on a guide on the new world of remote onboarding. So feel free to go to the handout section of GoToWebinar and get access to these documents as well. They're really great resources for anybody, whether you're an HR leader, an operations leader, to kind of help you and give you some hacks and tricks to help you accomplish the day-to-day. But without any further ado, I'd love to transition over to our next two panelists. So we have Raj Nimrodi from Hibob. He's the head of business development on our team and also takes care of a lot of our sales engineering and the technical aspects of what we do. And then I also have on the line Brandon Anderson. He's a solutions engineer for One Login. And together they're going to talk a little bit about the integration and how One Login and Hibob work really closely together to create a productive and secure working from home experience. So take it away, guys.
Perfect. Hey, everybody. How's it going? I'm Roz and Brandon here. Brandon, you want to introduce yourself quickly? I'm just pulling up the deck here as we speak.
Yeah, hey there. Brandon Anderson, solutions engineer over here at One Login. Obviously, I have also been working home for a bit without a shave and a haircut, so looking forward to the day we get back in the office.
Perfect. Is everyone able to see my screen?
We're getting yeses from the audience.
Perfect. So Brandon and I were hoping to kind of talk through a few business cases which we're really addressing through our integration, talk a little bit about the technical aspect of it all, both from the data flow perspective and kind of talk through the different fields that are mapped, and then hopefully actually give one quick example of how to offboard using the integration. So without further ado, I'll let Brendan start off on the business challenges, and obviously, if you have questions, feel free to write us in the chat.
Yeah, so I think Boaz hit the nail on the head around a lot of the business challenges that an organization might face, and kind of what one login and Bob's integration can do for an organization. And this is especially acute when we're all working from home and we don't have an office to have that kind of osmosis from an onboarding perspective. So a couple of the key challenges that kind of a Bob and one login integration was built to solve. One is controlling access to applications. So when a user comes on board, how do you know that they have access to all the systems they should have access to? And especially, how do you make sure that they don't have access to systems they shouldn't? And how do you do that in a quick and easy way? Especially with departments, users changing departments or taking on new roles. Not only from an onboarding perspective is this important, but also from a cross-boarding perspective, where a user might be taking on more teams, more responsibilities, needs more access. How can you grant that in a quick and simple way? Additionally, how can you communicate things quickly? So with systems like Bob and systems like OneLogin, it gives a central place where you can put your kind of notes that you need, information that you need to your teams. And being able to do that is something that this integration was specifically built for. And then additionally, once a user is on board and once they're part of the organization, how can you continually make sure that that user is secure? Using simple things like multi-factor authentication in front of protecting all of your systems, that's something that's easily implementable with this kind of integration here. And excuse me, Roz, if you want to jump to the next slide here. So to give everyone a quick kind of high level of what this looks like what the integration and platform looks like. One login can connect to a number of different directory systems, but many of our customers, especially our shared customers that are leveraging Bob, have wanted to connect that system as where the onboarding actually starts, because it truly is where the onboarding starts for those organizations, where when a user comes on board, that's one of the first systems to know about it. It's one of the first systems updated. And of course, when a user leaves the organization, it's also one of the first systems updated. So it works really well as a source of truth. And that's why we built this integration. And then on top of that, once the users are in the Bob platform, there might also be additional users that need access to different applications. So users like your partners, your vendors, or even your customers might also need to be able to access their applications. So OneLogin also has kind of its own cloud directory where you can manage that information as appropriate as well. And then once that user is in the OneLogin platform, that's where you can set up rules to automatically have them assigned to applications. So based on who that user is, based on their directory attributes, like based on who they are. Bob, sorry, I've got my dog working from home as well. But based on who they are from Bob, like their title or their department, you can automatically assign them to the appropriate applications too. I'll hand it over to you, Roz, for the next slide here.
Thank you very much. Perfect. So yeah, that is definitely the flow of information. Really, the idea is to collect these fields that are on the left-hand side of the table in Bob. Obviously, hopefully, depending on the process, doing this before the actual start date is ideal. And then these fields will map onto the right of the table with the kind of start date trigger being what actually transfers the information.
Cool. And then based on all that information that Raj showed, so based on the user's title or their department or even their manager, you can not only assign users to the right applications in OneLogin. So when they sign into their portal for the first day, they'll see all the apps that they have assigned to them. But also additionally, you can automate the user onboarding into those downstream applications. So you can automatically create that user with the appropriate Zoom license or the appropriate Slack license in the right group. And so with the Bob and OneLogin integration, you can truly get for many of your systems a end-to-end flow, where as soon as the user is added in Bob, they're also added into.
Oh,
sorry.
Did I lose my screen here?
But they're also added into the appropriate with the appropriate attributes in the downstream third-party systems. And then taking this one step further, if you're an organization with a more traditional kind of directory system, something like Active Directory or an LDAP system, you can also provision the user into that traditional on-premises system as well. So that way you can put users into the right OU with the right security permissions as soon as they come on board in Bob.
Perfect. And just to talk through kind of one example, we took offboarding as an example here, but obviously this is relevant, as we said, for onboarding and for crossboarding as well. The idea, as we said, that Bob will kind of be the one triggering the offboarding event, as you see in step one. HR is what's updating, is who's updating the end date of the termination date. Now we're talking a lot about furloughing and leave management, so it doesn't necessarily need to be a termination, but we kind of get the opportunity in Bob to give the exact information as to why they left. And once that happens, automatically we're getting one login to trigger the access to other systems, turn off access to other systems, update their information in Active Directory, reallocate their user in Hibob and in other apps, sorry, their license in Hibob and in other apps, and obviously to prevent any further logging into systems which the now terminated employee should not have access to anymore. So just a really quick example here, and you can see the flow on the right, and this example would work in the exact opposite direction in onboarding. Obviously, ideally here, everything is completely automated, and the process is happening in parallel with the employee leaving the company. Perfect. That is the end of the kind of more technical side of things. We're happy to take any questions as to how this is all set up and how this really works. Both of the integrations are native to the UI, meaning there's no development work or extra setup necessary. We do have on both sides a lot of help center articles and obviously great account management teams to help to do the setup during implementation and obviously afterwards as well. Brandon, anything to add from your side?
Nope, I think this looks good. It's a really exciting integration for a lot of our customers, I know. Traditionally, one thing I just wanted to point out is traditionally for a lot of IT buyers, they'll probably be familiar where the onboarding process used to start in like a traditional like Active Directory LDAP system. But that caused a lot of like data issues between their HR system and that traditional system. So I think this integration has been really exciting for a lot of our customers to make sure that those traditional on-premises systems are always kind of in sync with their more modern cloud stack with like their Bob system, so that as soon as a user comes on board, all of that information is flowing together and there's no kind of room for human error. But yeah, happy to answer any questions you guys have about the setup and how we can help get this integration going for anyone that wants it.
Cool. Thank you so much, Roz and Brandon. I think a couple of big takeaways today. I think first, sort of the importance of allowing technology to accelerate all of the HR processes you have in place is really important. And I think not for any other reason, not just to make your lives easier and to make life a little bit more simple and utilize technology for that reason, but just to make sure that you're focusing on what matters most, which is your people, right? So when you're onboarding new people, when you're offboarding people, unfortunately, both of which are common, and working from home environment these days, it's really important to spend the bandwidth and time that you have, whether you're an HR leader, whether you're in operations, whether you're just a hiring manager, on getting to know that employee, on making sure the rest of the team is well integrated and getting culturally involved. And it's really important to focus the dialogue there, as opposed to on, does this person have access to this tool, or can we make sure that access is revoked for this tool for this person? So, really when it comes to our joint mission between Hibob and OneLogin, it really is using technology to accelerate creating a great experience for employees. And that's what we hope we showed you a little bit of today. Before I let you all go here, I just want to remind you again that we have 2 handouts available in the handouts section of the GoToWebinar panel today. One is our guide on managing a remote workforce, and the second is our guide that we've written on the new world of remote onboarding. Hopefully both of those can be great resources for you as you undertake both onboarding and offboarding in today's sort of tricky time. The last 2 months have definitely not been easy for anyone, but I always say the hardest for HR, because ultimately you're not just taking care of yourself, you're taking care of a bunch of people. And I think that applies to operations leaders as well. So, we thank you for joining us today and learning how to create a secure and engaging and personalized onboarding and offboarding experience. Many, many thanks to Boaz and the team at Logs for not just being instrumental in helping One Login and Bob perfect this integration, but also in sharing your insights today. And many, many thanks to Roz and Brandon and the One Login team for sharing insights and participating today as well. I appreciate you guys' time and effort and joining us to give back to the Hibob community here. And yeah, we have, if today's session was something you enjoyed, you'll get a recording of it after the fact. We also have a session coming up next week on the 27th, talking about the big office return and how employees can help facilitate that for companies that are going back to the office. We have two great panelists there. We have Nerida, who's the Chief People Officer for huge internet bank Revolut, and we have Christian Robeson, who is the Director of People for the cannabis company Candescent, who will be sharing their insights on the call. But without any, don't want to hold you guys here. We're done with today, and I thank you guys so much for your time, attention, and your dedication to creating a great culture for your employees. Thank you, panelists, and we will see you guys next time. It's been Ali from Hibob. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can email me at ali.fasal@hibob.com. We hope to see you at our next webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.